So this is really entertaining. Shabbos Kestenbaum, or Shabby as we like to say. Shabbos Kodesh, Shabbos Kodesh, da, da, dee, da, do. Anyway, Shabby is some might say a master debater of the pro-Israel camp, who I had the pleasure of meeting the other day at a pro-Israel summit. Great guy. We're going to be having him on the podcast soon. And he recently debated Ana Kasparian from the Young Turks. Let's have a look.
The two founders of that PAC, one of them is Chris LaCivita, who, of course, was one of Trump's campaign managers. And the other individual who co-founded it, Fabrizio is his last name, turns out that he helped to get Benjamin Netanyahu reelected. He works as a campaign strategist for Israelis. We have Israeli infiltration in our political system, in our elections, and it's a huge problem because how are you going to compete against Zionist billionaires like Miriam Adelson as they're pumping more and more money into defeating anyone who dare cross Israel? And if you want to talk about why Trump turned on Massie in the first place, okay, he turned on Massie over the Epstein files. The Epstein files were something that the Israelis weirdly didn't want released. And then once you get a little bit of those files released, you realize that Epstein had a very close and cozy tie with Israel, including making deals, cybersecurity deals for them. So again, this idea that it was totally Trump. Okay, even if you buy that argument, why did Trump turn on Massie? It was because Massie was refusing to do the bidding of the Israel lobby.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna have to quickly respond because Anna, it's good to see you again. And again, my coffee invite in LA is still open, but you've mispronounced my name every single time on Piers Morgan, and I never accused you once of lying. I just think it's a tough name, so I wouldn't accuse you of lying. So I will accept your apology later, but I digress. It's interesting that you talk about Zionist billionaires because actually Jeff Yass funded Thomas Massie's campaign as well. I find it interesting that you don't talk about NIAC, the National Iranian American Council. I find it interesting you don't talk about the Council on American Islamic Relations. I find it interesting you don't talk about the Jordanian Muslims, the Marouk family, who also funded him. You don't talk about the Iranian Joe Keeney, who I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I find it interesting that you're talking about how AIPAC has this ability to simply fund elections with any money they want, yet Maureen Galindo, who said that American Zionists need to be put in internment camps, actually won her election yesterday. Chris Rabb, who said that the Bondi Beach massacre, which killed 10 Jews by an Islamist, including a 9-year-old girl, Matilda, he said it was a false flag. He won his election yesterday. So if AIPAC is, buying any election they want, how come they didn't buy those elections? Why did they allow those candidates to win? So again, if you want to focus on money, then sure, Thomas Massie also raised $15 million from Islamist groups, from far-left Democrats. He went on your show repeatedly. But look, Kamala Harris raised $1 billion.
He did not go on our show repeatedly.
You
made that up.
Excuse me. He went on your show the day before the election, all right?
You can't just lie.
He came Thomas Massie go on your show the day before the election?
Technical issues and had to drop off. Let's be very clear about that.
Okay.
Why are you lying about that? That's such an unnecessary lie.
Okay.
AIPAC, after the election was called,
I'm going to continue talking.
After the election was called,
after the election was called. No, you don't get to interrupt. Yelling is not an argument.
Zionists can't rub into our faces that they buy elections and then gaslight us when we say, oh yeah, they buy our elections. AIPAC posted about this immediately after Massie lost the election and said, our community was proud to help pro-Israel candidates win these races. Okay. So which one is it?
I want to bring Robbie in. First of all, Shabbos.
Hang on, let me quickly respond because she keeps interrupting. And I have to say that, Anna, for the millionth time, yelling at me is not an argument. Like, being aggressive is not a qualitative, substantiated claim. If you want to say that there's money in politics, I agree with you.
Stop whining about my tone and focus on the substance. Be a grown adult.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm about to do, but you keep interrupting me. I agree there's too much money in politics, but when you only focus on one political group, which does not even represent more than 0.5% of all political lobbying being spent, then you're doing it for nefarious motives. Why don't you also talk about the fact that Thomas Massie was being run by billionaires, by radical Islamists? Why don't we talk about that as well? I agree there's too much money. But I am making the point that even if you have money in politics, which I want to get rid of, that still doesn't translate into forcing Kentuckians to not support a candidate. Kamala Harris had $1 billion and she still lost. What, you're telling me that 60,000 Kentuckians who wanted strong borders, who wanted DHS funded, who didn't believe that Donald Trump was a pedophile, they were forced into voting against Thomas Massie? No, they didn't like the guy. That's what elections come down to.
Okay, all right, Robbie, is it that they didn't like the guy? Is it as simple as that?
This is fun. Look, I speak for
you've got a lot to weigh in on, Robbie. Go for it.
Sure. Millions of Americans who are neither obsessed with Israel and see it as the prime mover in everything that happens in politics, nor incredibly defensive of Israel more so than any other country. and who don't care one way or the other and want to be less involved, which frankly is, I think, mostly where Thomas Massie was. Not all of his fans and supporters are like that. Massie has said that he opposes funding to Ukraine and Egypt and USAID and every other thing you can think of, but it was Israel-backed or Israel wealthy people who were most involved in this race. Look, this is mostly about his personal beef with Trump. It's personal for Trump. It's not personal for Massie. Massie has continued to vote the same way he's voted for 14 years, saying he will not vote to impoverish, to riddle with debt his children and their children's children. Nothing there has changed. What changed is the Republican Party, which has promised my whole life to actually do something about the size of government and debt, now having a unique moment of vast political power over every, aspect of our government, did nothing to follow through in their promises and betrayed the fundamental. I'm sorry, they made this promise. It came out of Trump's lips himself. No new wars, and we're doing new wars, and Massie was critical of it. Trump.
So, Robbie, do you think there can be dissent within the Republican Party? Can the Republican Party handle the dissent?
Well, it's not handling it well, and I think that's a huge problem. This is a Republican primary district. Primary voters are not like voters at large, and in a Republican primary in a deeply red state, whatever Donald Trump says goes. That is absolutely true. I knew Massie was cooked, or I suspected he was cooked weeks ago, because you can't have this kind of difference with Trump. Republican primary voters don't tolerate it because they're disproportionately boomer, more neoconservative Republicans. And my warning to the party is, if you're totally giving nothing, throwing no bones to the younger voters you brought in, the newer voters you brought in the last election, you're going to get crushed in the midterms, and J.D. Vance is not going to have a chance, snowball's chance in hell in 2028 with this level of disrespect for what you ran on and the people you brought into the coalition. Keep running with the boomers who love Ed Galbraith, a totally empty suit who didn't do any campaigning, didn't debate Massie. We have no idea who he is. His campaign slogan was, "Trump's read my secret files and says I'm great." This is laughable. It's good enough for primary voters. It will not be good enough in midterms and in 2028. That's my warning.
Mm-hmm. All right, Shabbos, what do you make of that warning? I mean, Trump and his loyalists have won, but Massie is still a popular figure within some of the Republican base. Is this, again, a sign that the Republicans are trying to grapple with a divide within the GOP that could hurt them in the midterms?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you where Thomas Massie is not a popular figure, and that's Kentucky's 4th congressional district, by the fact that he just lost by 10 percentage points. But I agree with you. The average American is not voting for Israel. They're not really considering Israel. And I think that's a fine thing. If you want to cut foreign aid, I'm in support of it. But that doesn't just mean Israel. I'm in support of cutting all foreign aid, including to countries like Nigeria and Somalia. But I digress. I think Robbie is right that Donald Trump obviously has a hold on the Republican Party. I mean, you asked in the beginning, what is the Republican Party today? And I just say it's Trumpism. That can be good because the majority of the Republicans actually like Donald Trump, but there will be consequential ramifications down the road, especially, I'm not so convinced about the midterms, but certainly in 2028, when there will be a question of, like, what does it mean to be a conservative? And I don't think J.D. Vance necessarily has an appeal to a large swath of our constituents, a large swath to our base. So we do have to recognize that, yeah, there have been certain campaign promises that President Trump promised that have never come into fruition. Like, I don't know, getting rid of our national debt, which has only ballooned. But when it comes to, like, core campaign promises, like national security, like border control, like DHS, I mean, that's why I voted for him, and Thomas Massie turned his back on all of those things.
Okay, so now I want to get to the final moment that's worthy of discussion, because I noticed that when people like this propagandist, Kestenbaum, are in front of a room full of Jewish students, he'll throw around the power of the Israel lobby and how powerful Zionists are in the United States. But when he's on a debate panel, he says something entirely different. Now, the topic at hand here is Zionist influence over our media. Let's start off with what he said when I confronted him with his own words. E5. Why are you?
I'm so happy you brought that up
right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Anna,
what kind of lies are you going to spew now?
Yeah. Oh, get ready. So
okay, go ahead. Hurry up. Okay. Go ahead.
I brought that up by saying, I actually used you as an example, so I'll send you after this, I'll send you the full quote. I said that we live in a democracy where the American people...
I've seen the entire video.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
great.
seen the whole
Well,
thing.
also,
Go ahead.
it's pronounced Shabbos. I encourage you to also keep it. President Trump just issued a proclamation encouraging Americans to keep Shabbat. I encourage you to do the
Oh
same
my
thing.
God, just
Shabbos.
shoot me in the head, please.
I had said, gladly. I had said
I know,
that
you're an
individuals are
Israel-
free
Okay,
to lobby
okay,
their
okay.
government.
For culture, right?
I-
No,
that individuals are free to lobby their government.
No, a
And
lot
then
of that.
I used as an
They show it
example.
every day.
And then I used as an example of people will say lies. So they will say that American Jews, they will say AIPAC, they will say Israel controls your life. And so I pretended for the sake of argument, let's assume that's true. Okay, why don't you do something in response? Elect candidates. This is the problem I have with the woke right. If you believe that we're controlled by a foreign government, okay, so put up sensible candidates and get them into power.
So right before that video started, I had actually read a direct quote from Shabbos Kestenbaum when he was in front of a room full of Jewish students. He was talking about the Zionist control of US media. And I want you to watch what he said and then ask yourself, the statement in the video you just watched, was that an honest statement in regard to what he said in that room full of Jewish students? Let's take a look.
What a pathetic philosophy of life. Because if you think AIPAC controls government, this is a free country. Build your own lobbying group and lobby for your causes. You think Jews control Hollywood? Okay, create your own content. You think that Israel is a foreign policy blunder? Okay, well then go to DC and advocate for your beliefs. It's just such a victimhood mentality that is so dumb and really makes you a loser. And I think that's the argument that we should probably go for. I think it's probably more effective to just say, all right, Nick Fuentes, you're right. We control the media. So what are you going to do about it? You're going to bitch on Twitter? Like, okay. Meanwhile, we're going to control more of the media.
You're willing to admit it in front of a room full of Jewish students. You're willing to boast about it. But you know, when you're in front of the non-Jews who might have a problem with that, you say something entirely different, don't you?
Takia. Okay, so apparently it's Takia Tuesday. Okay, so now let's break that down. He said he was joking. You just saw the video. Did it look like he was joking?
It didn't to me.
Right, you guys can make up your own mind, but it didn't look like he was joking at all, not 1%. And he also did something that they're doing a lot more these days. They're now so confident that they have complete control, and I'm not talking about Jewish people, I'm talking about Israel supporters, that they're starting to rub it in now. They're doing the same thing Ben Gvir did with the flotilla people, trying to humiliate people. And by the way, every Palestinian in the occupied territory says they have gone through vicious humiliation by the Israelis that occupy them, right? So that's why he says they're a bunch of losers. They couldn't make it. And now I see all over social media, oh, you guys are all just jealous of us.
Yeah, keep
because
doing
we're
that.
better than you, and we did better than you, and we're richer than you. By the way, you're not allowed to say we're richer than you. You're not allowed to say we control the media. We're allowed to say it, and we're allowed to rub it in your face, and we're allowed to call you a loser. And every time you complain about now, another one that they have all over social media is cry harder. Okay, so I just want to take one thing that he said.
Then you can't be upset when people hate you. If that's going to be your behavior, you can't be upset when people dislike you. No,
he would then say, because there's no end to their victimhood, no, I'm allowed to humiliate you. I'm allowed to rub it in. But if you complain about it, anti-Semite, you're the real one who's immoral. Like, there's no end to their BS anti-Semitism claims.
Of course, yeah.
So it's just a dumpster fire of weaponized anti-Semitism. So they're all Jesse Smollett. They're like, oh, I'm the victim, right? That's shabu shabu in a freaking nutshell right there. But I like that they are taping themselves. Like when they're internal, they're like, okay, guys, we all love Israel, right? We're humiliating the Americans. We're taking their money and we own their media. And then when we say this and then they just repeat us and they quote us, we'll call them anti-Semites. What a great trick, right? That is actually what you look like. Okay, so I'm not exaggerating. You guys look ridiculous now. How you get to say literally, I mean, all right, I can go on and on with 1,000 examples of this, but I got to say one last thing here. He said, create your media and own media. Like, don't complain about Hollywood. Go into Hollywood and start a company or do something in Hollywood. I actually totally agree with that. In fact, that's why I started my own media company. I'm not a guy who whines or cries. I just do it. I take action.
You do it. You're right.
Yeah. And so what's happened?
Do.
Oh, when David Ellison starts his own media company, Daddy gives him tens of billions of dollars, and he can buy Paramount and Warner Brothers and CNN and TikTok. And so Well, he's such a doer. He's a man of action. You know, you get a 20, 40, 50 billion dollars. Man, you go and buy those companies. Wow, you sound like you're a real capitalist and a real doer, right? Me, on the other hand, I start this company with no money. We started my 1-bedroom apartment in the living room. We put a couple of mics in. So, okay, so what's happened since then? Well, through the beauty of this country, which I love so much, I've had the opportunity to grow it, and now we're one of the larger media companies. But are we flush with cash like David Ellison or the others? No, we're starved of cash. Why? Since we've criticized Israel, most of the investment community has gone away. And they've let it be known that we are opposing Israel. That is why they've turned off all the taps. And then they go, why don't you create your own media company? Good luck trying to do it with no money. And here's billions of dollars to help Israel.
He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
So did they overpay for free press? They bragged about overpaying for free press. They said, here, we're going to give you way more than you deserve because you're pro-Israel, right? So if you're pro-Israel, there's bags of money everywhere. Here, Ben Shapiro, Dennis Prager, David Rubin, all these guys. Now go do Israeli propaganda, right? If you're not going to do Israeli propaganda, no money for you. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make it. We're still going to make it. We're still going to kick their ass. And we're still going to have the largest news network in the country. But that is despite every obstacle that pro-Israel people put, because they don't want anyone in this country or any country being able to criticize Israel. They want propaganda in every single country about how wonderful Israel is, and how, by the way, not just that, but how terrible the terrorist Palestinians are. You should all hate the Palestinians. They're all terrorists. They deserve to be murdered. Israel's doing you a favor by murdering them. Give me money. Give me money. Oh, look at that. I happen to get money from your government. Now flush with cash. I'm rich. You're not. You're a loser. You're a loser, he says, after they bribe all of our government officials, and then they get $320 billion from us. They steal, yes, steal from us by using their bagmen, the dirty politicians in America. And then they go, look at all the money we stole from you. Ha ha, we're rich and you're a loser. Say it one more time, Shabu Shabu. Call Americans losers one more time, Shamu.
Probably not true. Shut up, Spank. Spank. Spank Uwika. Spank Skank. Where do I begin? Okay. First of all, Shabby Baby really did a great job in the first video where he talks about how Thomas Massie was getting billions of dollars. Kamala Harris got $1 billion, or he gets millions. Kamala Harris got $1 billion and still lost. If you want to win elections, you put your best man forward or best lady forward, and may the best person win. This is the world we live in. People have objectives, people have motives. It's the game of life, baby. Survival of the fittest. Oh, this isn't fair, that isn't fair. Would it be great if there wasn't money in politics and there was only public funding? It'd be great. I think that would be better for everybody. Is everyone going to agree to that? I doubt it. Now, when we're talking about the Young Turk, well, first of all, before we even go into that, Shabbos was clearly joking when he was talking to those Jewish students about how we should say that we should just own the fact that we run everything. If we ran everything, we wouldn't be seeing all the anti-Semitism that we see. If we ran everything, we wouldn't be dealing with all the slander against Israel. It's very clear that the Jewish people do have a lot of strength. We do have a lot of power. We do have a lot of influence. Things that we earned, things that we busted our asses to get. We work together. We have healthy culture. And then you want to talk about how we can say whatever we want about ourselves, but other people can't criticize us. Can you say the N-word to a black person? No. Can they say it to each other? Yes. Can Muslims talk smack about each other? Most of the time. Can you say negative things about them, especially against Muhammad? Not if you want to live a lot of the time. It's a very common human behavior where the people among you, the people in your family, can get away with saying more than people outside of the family. It's human nature. This is how it works. I am the first person to say I don't like the whole anti-Semite game where people are very quick to throw the anti-Semite card at people. I don't believe in that. I believe in freedom of speech wholeheartedly. When it comes to funding, when Cenk talks about how he built this company from scratch and he's not getting all this Jewish funding, I ain't getting shit. I mean, I don't have some huge media company, but I'm not getting money from any of these Israeli funds, not a penny. And At the end of the day, if an investor is pro-Israel, doesn't want to invest in the Young Turks because they don't support Israel, that's their prerogative. If many billionaires happen to be Jewish and they support Israel, they have every right to fund whoever the fuck they want to fund. They do not owe you a damn thing. If you want to push an idea, push the idea. But if you're expecting to get handouts or investments or any sort of funds, you're an idiot. Very simple. People are going to want to put their hard-earned money into organizations, into ideas, into um, initiatives that they align with. So, quite frankly, cry all of us a fucking river. That is all for today's video. I look forward to you tuning into the next one. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments, and I will see you on the next one.